for a video on leftovers and kind of what I've got in the fridge and what kind of to do with it. And so I've got some leftover rice and I've got a few other bits around the house that kind of need using up, and this is a good way of using them. And it's going to be like a fried rice, but more inspired by a paella, whereas a paella you want to fry the bottom of the paella so it goes like a little bit crispy, and when you make fried rice you like those crispy fried bits of rice in the fried rice as well. So what we're going to do is we're not going to move it around, we're going to let it set and cause a crust, so it's like a fried rice cake type of thing. So rice is already cooked, got about 500-600 grams. Tin of chickpeas, which I was going to use something else, but I'm going to use in this. I've got some bacon, which I made myself. It's a bit fatty, so we're going to cook that down, render all the fat out of it, keep some of the fat, save the rest of the fat for something else. So the bacon's going to go in. We've got some spring onions, which I didn't want something oniony, and I just kind of thought I'll just put spring onions in, but otherwise I would be using onions or leeks. I've got some seeds from the butternut squash, which I always save and dry out. I'm going to chop those up. I've got the last of the parsley from the garden, which is getting a bit ropey now because we're into November, are we? Yes, we're into November. It's getting a bit ropey, so I'll use the rest of that up. And then a little bit of butter for flavour. And I've got some red onions and red peppers, which are stewed down, which I use for something else. We're going to put some of that in as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fry off the bacon, get rid of most of that fat that's going to drain out of that, and then drain off the fat, and then just quickly cook the spring onions just to take that harsh onion flavour away from them. And then what we do is we mix, take the rice and we'll line a non-stick wok with the rice, and then we'll, not with all the rice, just with some of the rice, so it creates a layer, and then we'll mix all the ingredients together with the rest of the rice, and then we'll pack that rice on top of the layer of rice in the pan, as you can see I'm doing with my hands, with the butter and a little bit of the lard in the pan, so it'll cause a crust on the outside. And then we're going to fry it, and we'll fry it at such a rate that hopefully what will happen is the outside will crisp up and it will heat the rest of the rice up at the same time. So you kind of want that balance, that frying on the outside so it's nice and golden while being hot on the centre. So you don't need to see me frying the bacon, so I'll fry the bacon and add the spring onions and chop the not pumpkin seeds, chop the seeds up, and then I'll show you how to line the wok and then mix everything together and then pack it in, and then you can see how it kind of goes. But it's one of those using up old things that you've got around the house dishes. So it doesn't have to be bacon, it could be a bit of old ham or lamb or pork or beef, something that you've got left over. It doesn't have to be chickpeas, could be beans, it doesn't have to be a beans or chickpeas. You could just put more rice in, doesn't have to have the peppers in. It's one of those dishes where you can pick and choose and add things as you want, type of thing. But the rice is the mainstay of it. It's just like one of those pick and choose what you've got around the house. It doesn't have to be parsley, it could be I don't know what it could be from parsley. What's a bland herb that you could just use anything? No, it has to be parsley actually. Any other herbs tend to be kind of quite strong in flavour. So parsley's for the best. But yeah, so just like one of those dishes. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm waffling, so I'll stop and I'll do some stuff and then we'll come back and we'll put it together. Stage is to build up a layer of rice in the pan. You can just mix all the ingredients together and then put into the pan. However, I've done that in the past, and what I find is that things like the onion and the parsley, if they are touching the pan, they want to fry and blacken, whereas the rice just kind of caramelizes. So I find it best to put a layer of rice in the pan. So this is the lard that's come out of the bacon, and we've got some butter as well. So we're going to mix a bit of those and kind of coat the pan and then put the rice in. So excuse fingers. Butter is flavour, and it will also help the rice caramelise a little bit better. Pan's a little bit warm, but that's fine. Not warm enough to burn my fingers. A bit of butter there, and then a bit of the lard, because it's got tremendous flavour and we don't like waste. So that's good enough, and then we'll just take some rice. About that much. press it into the pan. The idea is you judge how much rice you've got. I'm pushing up the side of the pan and then kind of weighing up the rest of the ingredients. So a bit more rice, I think. It's a good way, when you have takeaways, you normally end up with loads of rice left over. And I know you're not really supposed to reheat rice because of Bacillus cereus, I think. Maybe I pronounced that wrong. It's a long time since I did food hygiene, but that's what you get if you reheat rice incorrectly. So I think that's about right. So, looks all pretty even. So what we'll do is we'll mix all the other ingredients together, and then we'll pour those ingredients into there. I think, am I judging this? A little bit more rice, I think. What will also happen is, as you push the filling in, it will also push the rice up around the sides of the pan as well. So that'll be fine. So I think that's about right. Can you see that? Hopefully you can, or you get the idea. No real set recipe to this. It's just one of those dishes that I find it makes lots of little bits of ingredients that you've got in the fridge and around. It just makes them go a little bit further, and it's like most cuisines in the world. They have a set number of ingredients and they just add them in different ratios and cook them in different ways, and that's the basis of their cuisine. You certainly find that in a lot of Mexican and Italian cookery, that it's lots of the same ingredients just in kind of different ratios, cooked in different ways. So hopefully we won't spill this on the floor. So I'll chop the nuts, I'll chop the parsley, well they're not nuts, they're seeds. That goes in there, and then I have got a spoon somewhere. I'll have a couple of tablespoons of that, and a bit of the juice as well. Maybe another one. Another one. Give it a mix. It will need a season. Actually, I might need a bit more rice in that. I think we will. Yeah, I have got a bit more rice. So I reckon there was 700 grams to start off with. Rice, cooked rice. Don't ask me why I ended up with so much rice. So then we'll mash it all together. That's about right. That's enough starch in the rice to keep it all together. So we'll taste. That's right. Nice with that. To be honest, that's just nice as a salad. But a bit of salt and a bit of pepper. Now combine it all together. Need to give it a good mix so all the salt gets evenly distributed throughout the mixture. I think that's about right. That looks good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook it, and I'm going to serve it with some yogurt that's got some wild garlic pesto in it, which I think will be really nice. So this now into here. That's about right. Like that. Flatten it down. That's just about right, is that? Who would have guessed it? And then, if you compact it really well, and then it's going to start sticking itself together through the starch that's in the rice. So, it doesn't matter, it doesn't need to be a layer of rice on the top, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a plate on top of that, which will just speed up the cooking process and stop things from drying out as much. So, press down quite firmly, and what it's going to do is it's going to form a cake, and then hopefully, when it's cooked and it's crispy on the outside, we'll be able to turn it over onto the board, onto some greaseproof paper or some baking parchment, and then it'll form like a big rice dome, which will be nice and crispy on the outside. Well, you'll see, obviously, but it's just a different way of using up the same ingredients. because there's nothing worse than people kind of saying, fried rice again, you know, because people get sick of things. So that's that. Plate on top. Like that. Press down, not too hard, because there's a habit of breaking plates. So that'll keep that all secure. And then otherwise I've just put a lid on the top, but the plate will keep it flat. So we'll put it on the heat, not too high. So I'm kind of like we'll take the camera over. We'll pause and we'll take the camera over, and then you can kind of see. Right, so excuse angle and excuse the cooker. It's a little bit dirty, but I've been out all day. I went out for a walk. We're just about heading to lockdown, and so I wanted to go out for a long walk. The gym's to be honest about it all. So as you can see, it's on quite a big gas jet. It's like the medium gas jet is that, and it's on about halfway in between the lowest flame and the highest flame. You just have to keep an eye on it. Use your sense of touch, and you want my car, and your sense of smell, and listen to it. If it sounds like it's frying too hard, the rice, then it's going to be crispy on the outside before it's cooked, not cooked, but hot in the centre. So it's kind of working out that kind of ratio of getting the outside crispy and the centre hot, and then you can turn it out, and it'll be nice. It might fall to bits a little bit, but it'll be nice, and it's just that different kind of way. So hopefully we'll just keep an eye on it. I won't try off and go off and do too many things, but like a medium heat on the medium gas jet, and then that'll be fine. Well, that's it for the moment. We'll come back to the unveiling. Well, I'll go through how we turn it out the easiest possible way, and then we'll have an unveiling. It's hot, and I don't think the camera will pick it up, but you can see on the outside that the rice has gone brown, so we'll know that the outside of it should have crisped up. I don't think it's going to hold together, this one. It's a while since I've made it, but what you just need to do is compact it down, because what we're going to do is we're going to put some greaseproof paper on the board, and then we're going to put the board on top of this, and then turn it over in one fell swoop. So if the bottom is uneven, what it's going to do is it's going to form cracks and break up. So the bottom needs to be flat as you can make it, and then it stands a better chance of forming a proper dome. So we'll just have to see. Right, so pause for a second, and then I'll have to move the camera, and I'll have to do it off camera. I'm not scared of showing you it. I'm not scared of making a fool of myself if it goes wrong. It's just it's a bit of a faff and it's difficult. So I'll just pause and we'll just rearrange, and we'll come back in a bit. Right, so cloth underneath the pan because it's going to be hot, and I don't want to burn the worktop, and I don't want to burn my hands when I turn it over. Greaseproof paper, baking parchment on top. I have used this for something else, but that's fine. Then board on top of that, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it off the worktop, and we're going to turn it over, and then it'll turn out onto the other side of the board. I hope that makes sense. It does to me, kind of, but yes. So pull it off, and then hand underneath. Oh, that's gonna burn my hands. It's too hot for that cloth. So we use another cloth. So lifting it up, I've got my hand on the pan underneath, and I've got my hand on the top of the board there, and then I'm going to turn it over off camera. Be careful, and hopefully it will work out. Okay, so unveiling time. Fingers crossed. Give it a bit of that, and then that's okay. It's a little bit uneven, but you get the idea, and it's a little bit stuck to the pan there, but you get the idea. It's going to break up when I cook it because the rice wasn't just kind of gelatinous, but it's just a different way of serving things. I'll see if I can get a nice slice out of it. I'll pause and see how we're going, see if we can get a nice slice, and I'll mix some of the yoghurt with some wild garlic pesto, and it'll make kind of a accompaniment to it, and hopefully you'll kind of see it'll be quite nice. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Well, it will be nice, but it might just not be exactly how I want it. There you go. It's kind of held together. It's a little bit softer than I would have liked. Maybe I should have made the rice a little bit more gelatinous, kind of making more of a risotto, kind of giving it a bit of a stir and activating the gluten a little bit more. However, serve it with some yogurt, with some wild garlic pesto in, with a bit of sauce, and it's really nice as with a poached egg as well, or a fried egg. Poached egg, because you're frying that, you want something different. So like a poached egg would be absolutely spot on with that. Kind of like if you kind of think kedgeree, paella, fried rice, all those type of things work in that. It's not beautiful, but it certainly is delicious. So it's another way of using up leftovers. So if you've got leftover risotto or leftover rice from a takeaway, or you're wanting to think ahead and you're having like a curry one day, cook extra rice, keep it in the fridge for a couple of days, and then you've got something you can just whip together with leftovers. But there you go, it is delicious.